Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the dark, tangled roots of language to uncover some profoundly unsettling but absolutely fascinating Nietzschean truths about the human condition. We are looking at a brilliant piece of source material today that frames these deep philosophical concepts as a grim, dark, Gothic fable. It's such an incredible way to visualize abstract ideas, and we're going to break it all down step by step. So instead of your typical textbook breakdown, I want you to imagine right now that we're descending into this massive, dark cathedral. In this space, words aren't just labels on a page. They are literal mirrors reflecting our darkest, most fundamental selves. We're going to explore a series of philosophical archetypes that live within this cathedral and see exactly what they reveal about us. To do that, our source material leans heavily on something called philology. That's the study of historical etymology, but it's used here as a master key to unlock the secret codes behind our deepest struggles. Our struggles with existence, with our obsessive need for control, and our absolute fear of the truth. By looking at exactly where our words come from, we uncover the hidden realities of how we actually think and behave. Section 1. The Clockwork Sovereign's Illusion. All right, we kick off our descent right at the surface, up in the highest towers of our cathedral with a very modern obsession that's just masquerading as an ancient king, the clockwork sovereign. The text describes this figure as the Faustbuch Übermensch. Now, philologically speaking, Faust literally translates to fist. This brilliantly illustrates the etymology of control as a clenching, tightening attempt to overcome human vulnerability. It's that white-knuckled grip on reality we all sometimes have. You see, in our current era of digital decay, this archetype acts kind of like a twisted alchemist. But instead of turning lead into gold, they're desperately trying to trade their actual messy human blood for these pristine gears of perfect data. They are seeking absolute technological sovereignty. They want to be impenetrable, exchanging their vulnerable humanity for artificial, flawless control. But here's the catch, and the source points this out so powerfully. This clenching fist of control, it completely fails. It leads to this terrifying, optimized eternity of nothingness. The ruler becomes completely encased in a sterile laboratory of their own making. By trying to master the world through endless optimization in data, they become entirely isolated from it. They literally can't touch the very world they sought to rule. The illusion of mastery just creates a cage. Section 2. The dancer in the empty. So stepping out of that sterile laboratory and into the wild, we run into the Willionaire, or the dancing iconoclast. Now, Willa stands for the primal creative surge of life. Nair translates to fool, but, and this is super interesting, it actually comes from the Latin phallus, which means an empty bellows or a windbag. This tells us something profound. True creativity actually requires emptiness. You literally have to be an empty vessel for life to move through you. Think about traditional scholars and citizens. They're weighed down, lugging around these heavy marble blocks of a static kingdom. Societal duties, rigid structures, massive egos. And when the waves of change inevitably come, they just sink. But the empty fool, the dancer, they remain unburdened. By refusing to build a static, heavy kingdom, they maintain a buoyancy that lets the wild wind of life flow right through them. There is massive, massive power in that emptiness. But as we head deeper down into our cathedral, moving away from that dancing wind, we've got to face a much darker question. What happens when we refuse this wild chaos? What happens when, instead of embracing the wind, we demand absolute, rigid purity from ourselves and others? Section 3. The Inquisitor's Self-Negation. This brings us face to face with a truly terrifying figure lurking in the shadows. The word inquisitor is rooted in the Latin inquire, and that literally means to aggressively search for a hidden stain or fault. So this isn't just about asking questions, it's a relentless, aggressive hunt to punish every internal sin, every shadow, and every doubt. This archetype pursues a state of perfect purity, but the horrible irony here is that this aggressive searching actually paralyzes them in absolute terror. Because this obsessive inquisition of the self, it ultimately destroys the host. Think about it. If your entire existence is focused on aggressively dodging the stain of being human, the mistakes, the messy emotions, the darkness, you end up entirely unlived. Purity, in this grim sense, is just a synonym for paralysis. And hanging out right alongside the Inquisitor is the Pale Redeemer. Now, you might think redemption sounds like a good thing, right? But look at the etymology. Erlöser comes from the Old High German los, meaning to loosen or detach. This archetype represents false salvation. The Redeemer offers us this pink syrup of numbness to mask our tragedy, basically encouraging us to just stare blankly at the sky and loosen our grip on reality entirely. The result of this false redemption is just devastating. The source paints this horrifying picture, this hazy, blissful numbness, leaves behind a literal metropolis of rotting corpses. It's a whole society of people who died inside, without ever once acknowledging their own reality or their own tragedy. They detached so much that they simply rotted away while staring blankly upward. Section 4. Embracing the Inseparable Shadow. Okay, to actually survive this grim fable, we have to hit rock bottom. We need to go into the deepest part of the cathedral's dungeons, and down there, we find the shadow. The German root Schatten refers to a dark silhouette. But the key philosophical takeaway here is that a shadow is absolutely inseparable from substance. You literally cannot have a body casting a form in the light without casting a shadow in the dark. The Clockwork King from earlier attempts to purge all human filth into the dark, but philology teaches us that this darkness is fundamentally who we are. There's this vivid image when the king finally goes down to the dungeon and violently strikes a shadow. He feels the blade in his very own chest. It means the higher our ego's palace climbs toward the light, the deeper its foundations absolutely must plunge into the dirt. To destroy your darkness, to deny your shadow, is literally to destroy yourself. They are one and the same. Section 5. The Wild Wind of Reality. Let's tie all of this together by looking at the one single force capable of breaking us out of these destructive illusions. Enter our final archetype, the truth-telling monster. Now, society's high priests often try to hide human nature under fancy silk robes and Latin incantations. But the word monster comes from monstrum, which actually means an omen, or a sign that brings hidden reality to light. The monster isn't evil at all. It represents our courage to proudly display our raw, animalistic hunger and our unpolished truth. So, to survive the cathedral, we actually have to become the monster. We have to shatter that beautiful but completely artificial stained glass of our sterile dogmas, our obsessive optimization, and our forced purity. We have to shatter it and finally let that wild, unpredictable wind of reality back inside. As you can see here, our entire descent today reveals a crystal clear pattern. The historical roots of our words perfectly mirror the inescapable philosophical realities of the human condition. The sovereign's clenched fist isolates us. The dancer's empty bellows allows real creativity to breathe. The inquisitor's desperate hunt for a stain paralyzes us. And the shadow proves once and for all that our darkness is an inescapable part of our reality. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you standing right there in the ruins of the cathedral. The stained glass is shattered, the wind is rushing in. You have a vital question to answer for yourself based on everything we've uncovered today. Do you have the courage to finally stop clenching your fist, acknowledge your own inseparable shadow, and let the wild wind of reality back in? Think on that.